Jams, jams, jams. Picture books and jams. Welcome, everybody, to PBJAMZ. Music and picture books. What a perfect sandwich. Squish them all together. What a yummy snack.
Good morning or afternoon, whenever it is that you are joining us for PBJAMZ. We are excited to have a guest in the house today. Miss JONI HIGGER is with us. And JONI is not only a children's book writer, but also a songwriter and a children's playwright. So welcome, JONI. We're excited to have you with us today.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here, Tanya. I love your program.
Thank you so much. It's always fun to highlight books and music, and your roles kind of fly all over that. I mean, you have so many different things that you do. JONI and I were talking ahead of time, and we had such great conversation. I may come back and share more of that with you guys later because it was just so wonderful and good. She's a fabulous person just to hang around and chat with. But we want to get specific today. So we're going to talk about one of your your earliest book, Rainbow of Friendship today. JONI has lots of other books and other things available, and you're going to find all that linked below in her links section. And so make sure you go visit her website and her other links to find out more about all the other things that she does. She's going to talk a little bit about that in the end of the interview, but I want to make sure that I give you the opportunity to go check out all the richness of the other resources that she has available for you. But turning now to Rainbow of Friendship, JONI, let's talk a little bit about the inspiration for that book and how it came about. This was your very first book, right?
Yes, it was the very first book I wrote. Yes.
Awesome. Tell us a little bit about how that came to be.
Okay, well, first, let me just establish I started songwriting from the time I was very, very young. There was always something to sing about. So I've been a songwriter my whole life. Children's books, if you ever told me that I would be a children's book author, I wouldn't have believed you because I was not interested in writing books. I barely read books. I was always into music, music, music. My parents used to play on the Victrola. I'm dating myself, but still,
Right.
they would play on the Victrola musical theater for me to go to sleep. And my father would sing to me when I went to sleep. So I never was really interested in books. I'm ashamed to say, because now, boy, do I have a lot of making up to do. Now I'm always reading children's books and
Right.
so forth. But what happened was I was a Girl Scout troop leader. My daughter Sarah was in the Girl Scouts. And the way that Rainbow of Friendship starts is when I was a girl and had just turned 9, I was given a gift that would always be mine, a rainbow of friendship I'll never forget, a rainbow of friendship I'll never regret. Now, the reason why she was 9 years old as a Girl Scout. She was in a Girl Scout troop. I was the troop leader. And the girls decided that they wanted to earn a badge for literature. So me being one of the troop leaders, I had a co-leader, Diana, who was wonderful. She was great with all the business stuff. And I used to come up with some of the fun ideas. And together we worked beautifully together. She also was very creative with ideas as well. So the girls wanted to earn a badge. So Diana and I ordered blank books. You ever see those blank books?
Yes.
Sometimes you see them, they give them
Yes.
out in school. Every girl got a blank book. And of course, you had to order them in increments of 12 to get the discount.
Right.
So we did, and there were extra books left over. There were 2 extra books left over. So I was like, oh, well, I guess there's one for me. I'll write a book. And I did. Oh, I wish I had the original one with me, but I have it somewhere. But I created Rainbow of Friendship. And it was very different than the Rainbow of Friendship that this is today. This is Rainbow of Friendship. And I wound up working on that book for 10 years before it got published. 10 years. Now, why would it take 10 years to write a book? Well, first of all, the inspiration of the book was the Girl Scouts, because it started off all about my Girl Scout troop,
Yeah.
right? But it was very simple. I didn't have any layers to it. There wasn't much of a storyline. It was just about each girl. Sarah Red had a bow on her head, and Becca Blue didn't know what to do when she had a blah, 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 blah on her shoe, whatever, like
Nice.
it was
Yeah.
that type of a book.
Yeah.
But then I finally decided, hey, I'm going to wise up. I sent it out to a lot. I figured I'm going to try and get this out to all children because it got a nice response from the Girl Scout troop. So I changed it around, and it definitely got better, but it was in rhyme. And rhyme, for anyone who rhymes out there, rhyme can be very, very challenging to write. It's not like writing a song. When I write a song, I can extend a sentence because it goes with the music. I can add extra syllables and I could do whatever I want. And it doesn't even have to be perfect rhymes when you have a
Right,
song. If you
right.
listen to many songs, there are not always perfect rhymes.
No,
When you are writing a children's book, it's very important if you want to get it published by a traditional publisher. Now, if you want to do it on your own, you pretty much can do everything you want, but there is a reason why traditional publishers take rhymes that are done right. The rhyming has to be perfect. The rhythm has to be perfect because everybody has to be able to read it.
right.
And unfortunately, the way Rainbow of Friendship was written, some of it was readable, but a lot of it was all over the place. It was
Right.
missing. It was landing in the wrong spots. So this book I had to rewrite over and over again. And how did I do that? I joined SCBWI. I took many, many workshops. And that was how I truly learned. I still struggle with rhyme, by the way. I have to have critique groups go over it. I have it read aloud to me. So even now, I still need assistance with my rhyme. And many
Right.
rhyming authors will tell you that you still need people to read it to make sure it's landing right.
Yeah.
Although there are some people who know so much about rhyme that they know exactly all the little details, but many rhyming authors don't. Many rhyming authors, we struggle and we need help with it. So
Right.
anyway, but that's why it took 10 years. I sent it out and it definitely was not ready. I had a lot to learn as an author. So
Yeah, I love that inspiration story and that path of revision and all of that. Like that's some great tidbits there for all of us. If you're watching and you're not a member of SCBWI, definitely a great first step to join that and see so many resources that are available to you. What you said about critique partners and having other people read it to you and read it and reading it aloud, great tips. So good. Is there anything else that you want to say about the path to publication? Anything that you want to add about that?
well, yeah. So I've had a very long road. And as I mentioned, I wished that I really wish I started learning more than before I started submitting. But there were a few things that really did help me. So when I first got started, I got a book called The Children's Illustrators Market.
Yep. Yep.
You know the one I'm talking
I
about?
do.
The
Yep.
Children's Illustrators Market. And that lists all the different publishers
Hmm.
and what to send, which is where I got my initial list. But I
Right.
did one mistake. I didn't read the beginning, the forward, which tells you all the things that are really important, including things like a submission letter. And I don't know if you knew this, if you experienced this, but when I was submitting before I had an agent, I would write submission letters saying, oh, well, my children love this and their school loved it. And I did everything wrong. I didn't realize there is a submission format that
Yeah.
if you are authors out there, it's very, very important. First of all, that you learn the format of writing a submission letter. It's huge because guess what? If your submission letter is not done properly, if you don't have the proper font and the proper phrasing, and if it's too long, everything, you can wind up straight in the garbage can because the editor will never see it. The person who is their assistant will look through just the letter and say, oh, this person doesn't know anything about writing. They're not serious. Go right
Right.
in the garbage. So
Yep.
it's very important. That was one thing I learned how important a submission letter is.
Mhm.
I learned how important the content is. So people think, oh, I'm just going to write a children's book, which is what I thought, right? And I learned there's so much more involved. So the path to publication, I needed to really learn. I had to learn my genre, which for the most part is picture books. I also write middle grade, I write musical theater, but picture books these days is mostly my thing, not just rhyming. I write rhyming and prose.
Mhm.
But it's so important to know your genre. It's important to understand about story arcs. But most stories have story arcs. Some of mine don't because they're
Right.
that I have board books and counting books, things like that. So not every story has to have that same arc format, but most do, where you
Right.
have someone who has to reach for their goal, but what's getting in their way and how do they overcome it? And then finally they do overcome it with a couple of challenges, but they do it. So it's like there's that story arc that's very important for most books, not
Right.
just picture books, in general, most
Yeah.
books. you
Yeah.
know, your voice and your language that you use and the character. Is it the right language for your age group and so forth, you know? So there were a lot of things I had to learn, and
Hmm.
I did. Thank goodness. I'm still learning. I'm always learning.
Always.
Always. It never stops.
Right.
The writing world has changed. Don't you find that, right? Like how much the writing world has changed just in 5 years.
Yeah.
Everything has changed. Every genre has changed of
Yeah.
what people are looking for, what agents and editors are looking for, right?
Yep.
Finding my agent was amazing. That changed my world. Uh,
Mhm.
God bless Joyce Sweeney. I just love her so much. She really has changed my life. She was able to get me to publishers beyond places that I was able to go. I was able to submit, you know, I used to go to conferences and submit to people. But Joyce, not only she checks out my manuscript, makes sure it's working, but what she also was able to do is she knows the industry, who
Yeah.
to send, what to. I was sending things blindly. So
Right.
one really important thing about my path to publication is I had to learn a lot. And I was behind the eight ball from a lot of people who, like, I know so many teachers who go into writing who they get published much quicker than I did. But I didn't read when I was younger. And because
Right.
of it, I was at a loss. So I have a lot of, and I still have a lot of making up to do. I still do. But I also can't recommend critique groups enough. They are truly game changers because you're getting perspectives from other writers. You
Yeah.
don't have to take everything they say if you believe something's in your heart. But many times, I belong to two critique groups. I've belonged to many in my life for different subjects that I write. So, you
Hmm.
know, if I'm writing rhyming, I've belonged to rhyming. When I was where I write Jewish picture books, I belong to a group that focused on the Jewish content
Right.
because it's important that you have the people who are knowledgeable in your genre. It's
Yes.
important you're working with them with critique groups so they know what to critique.
Yeah,
So,
that's a great point. I was a member of a Christian writers group in a nearby town to me when I kind of first came into the writing community, and I worked with them and I love those people. I mean, love them, but they were all adult writers. There were no children's writers. And so when I kind of narrowed my focus to say I really want to write for kids, what they really couldn't offer much suggestions because, like you said, they didn't really know the genre. They didn't really know what was expected. So they could give me general writing and story, because you were saying story is the same across the board. There should always be story arc. So they could help me with some of those things, but not the finer points of what it means to write a picture book. And so I think that's a great point, that when we do have critique groups, we may have critique groups for different works that are different people because they have different areas of expertise. So I
mhm.
love that. That was fabulous. Um, Talk to us a little bit about the musical connections. Now, obviously, you're a music person, so you infuse everything with music somehow or other. But
Yes.
but focusing on Rainbow of Friendship, talk to us about the music in that book and how you capitalized on that.
Okay, well, so first of all, I have been a songwriter for many, many years, but I started getting involved with writing for schools when I had children of my own. That's when I really started focusing on children's music because I used to write, pop and dance and rock. Like musical theater. I was in BMI musical theater workshop for a few years. And
Love
so
it.
I've been involved in all different aspects. But what happened was once I zoomed in with working with my kids' schools, my life changed. So music became a very big part of my life. And there's a song I have that's on the book trailer for Rainbow of Friendship, which is a song that I actually wrote it for a school, local elementary school, Brooker Creek Elementary School. I was working with the music teacher, which I love to do. Love to work with music teachers because I cover every subject. I have things that are already written. And if they
Yeah.
weren't written, they would say, oh, I need a song about the rainforest. Okay. Or I need a song about piggyback paragraphs or sentences, four different kinds of sentences. You get that. So, but anyway, so I started working with the teachers. Friendship was one of the songs that came out of that. And
Uh-huh.
when I wrote Rainbow of Friendship, that's when I was like, oh, my friendship song would go so well with that. So that's the song on my book trailer. Now, sadly, Rainbow of Friendship is no longer available in online and in bookstores because my publisher went out during COVID. But I
Mm.
still do. It's available through my website. I have limited editions. But the song that is on the trailer is this. Can I sing you the song? Would you like to
Yeah,
hear it?
please.
Called Friendship. And I actually had my daughter and my niece on this, they sang on the record with me, and my son helped me with it as well. And I had it recorded in a professional studio, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so it goes like this. We may have different faces, we're different religions and different races, but there is something special we share. A beautiful connection is there. Yes, we're friends, singing together, pledging our hearts to make the world better. Friendship, we're talking about friendship. So lucky are we. Working together, we can change tomorrow. Erasing poverty, pain, and sorrow will make this earth a safe place to be. Yes, we can do it all, you and me, 'cause we're friends, singing together, pledging our hearts to make the world better. Friendship, we're talking about friendship. So lucky are we. So lucky are we. So lucky are we.
Mm, that
Friendship.
is lovely. Yes, I can see how, number one, how that would go beautifully with the book, but also how that would be just such a fabulous song for music teachers and programs and schools, just in general, just in a classroom, setting. That's lovely.
Thank you so much. Thank
Thank
you.
you
I
for
love
sharing
writing
that.
songs for children, and I love children singing my songs. It melts my heart when I hear children singing my songs, and when they're in my musicals and seeing them light up and sing. It just brings me so much joy knowing that, and the songs that I write, and you and I discussed this a little earlier. So, and you and I are on the same page with this. Like, we
Yeah.
both feel it's so important that we all have gifts. We can all make a gift difference. How do we make the world a better place? So if you look at my catalog of music and my books, my books too, that if you look at the catalog, it's about making a difference. I have a song called Save the Manatee, The Rainforest, all about, it's an educational song, learning about the rainforest, helping the world, and how magic comes from the rainforest, how important it is.
Yeah.
I have songs about, oh gosh, they've recycling. Everybody, let's recycle. It's so easy to do. It's like I have a musical about recycle, and I find each of these things are really important. There's a song I was telling you about earlier called "Buckle Up Your Seatbelts." It's the safety song. It's
Mhm.
time to buckle up those seatbelts. It's time to know when to say no. It's up to us to practice safety everywhere we go. And it talks about wearing a bicycle helmet and looking both ways when you cross the street and never talk to strangers. And like, it's like there's a whole bunch of really important information in there.
Yeah.
So this is, I feel like we were given these gifts to help people. And
Yeah.
that's how I feel, is that we have the ability to help people, and then they in turn are going to help other people. They're going to make a difference in the world. When the kids were in the recycling musical, I can guarantee you every one of them now, they said to their parents, "Mom, you have to recycle that." Or,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So like little things, it's the children who are
Yeah.
changing the world, and we have the ability to help them, point them in the right directions, to keep them safe, to keep them healthy, and to make a difference in the world. So that's why I feel it was given such a gift to be children's book authors and songwriters. We're so blessed to work with
Yeah.
children with music.
Yeah, empowering,
Yeah.
empowering kids to, to embrace their gifts and to use their gifts to change the world and make the world a better place, for sure. So many important, and it's a huge responsibility for us as content creators, right? It's super important that we take that responsibility seriously and that we're careful about the messages that we share with our young people and with everybody, because my platform lately has been, picture books are for everybody. And there are teachers of older kids using picture books. And I mean, for myself, even though I'm a picture book writer, like I have always been a picture book reader, even when I was an adult and before I was, really focused on this path of writing for kids. So, being careful about the messages that we share and making sure that we are sharing the best, you know. Yeah, those good ways of helping our planet and our people to heal, and those relationships, you know, those friendships, and tearing down those borders and boundaries and barriers that are keeping people from, you know, really caring about each other. Good stuff.
Absolutely, I agree with you. And the other thing that's really important is that the information is correct,
Uh,
especially if you're writing nonfiction, and
yes.
even if you're writing historical fiction,
Yeah.
or even just if it's not that, it's really important that you have correct information.
Yes.
And you know, because otherwise you're feeding wrong information. If you are writing a book that a child thinks is factual and you didn't do your research, you're in trouble. I get very nervous with writing nonfiction. I've done it, but it scares me. I'm always afraid, like, "Oh, what if I even with that, when I write religious books, it's very important that I have like my rabbi look over it so I'm not giving wrong information. It scares
Right.
me. I want to give out anything wrong. And it's easy to do that, you know, and not without realizing it. Because
Yeah.
just because we were taught something doesn't mean it's the actual thing that's, you know, fact.
Always good to double check, fact check, fact check, fact check. And
Yes.
have people check behind you, you know, like you said with your rabbi, you know, somebody who's an expert in the field,
Mhm.
is great. Some publishers, I know they do have people that will read behind and make sure your information is correct. I was just listening to a group of editors the other day, and they were saying when you're writing nonfiction, make sure in your back matter to them that you include your bibliography. You know, here's my sources and here's where I found this information. And I'm sure that makes it easier for them to go back behind and do that fact checking and make sure that it's all from reputable sources and that it's all correct information. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Very.
sensitivity readers too. I know, like, certain subjects you got to be really careful with. You want to make sure it's done right.
Yeah.
And you know, with own voices, it's very important now, very important,
Right.
so that, you know, it's you're doing it right.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Um, so let's shift gears a little bit and let's talk about you've shared some of the other things that you have available. Talk to us about anything else that you haven't shared that you'd like to about what you have, but also what's coming next for you. What's coming up in the
Sure.
pipeline? What do you have working on?
Okay, well, first I'll talk about this one. I actually have a book. This one I'm very excited about because this was the first book that got published. So remember, I told you it took me 10 years for Rainbow of Friendship to get picked up. Well, this one, at the same time, I sent out a manuscript because I was a preschool music teacher and I needed a Hanukkah song. So I wrote a song, 10 little latkes at Hanukkah time. Along came my mother. She ate one. Now there's 909. You know, it's a countdown book, right?
Yeah.
But a countdown story. So at the same time, when I was sending out Rainbow of Friendship, I sent out a book called 10 Little Latkes. And what happened was it was picked up and it was published in 2005. And believe it or not, this book, it's sold probably like 9,000 books already or something like that. It's still in print. It's called 10 Tzedakah Pennies. I'm actually doing a big book reading in St. Petersburg, Florida, coming up soon. It's like for a huge school. And I also found out recently, well, first of all, it came out, look at this. This was very exciting. It came out in Spanish. Ladino, excuse me. Diez monedas de tzedakah. And I just found out recently, after all these years, and we're talking 20 years ago, this book is still going strong. I can't believe it. It's a simple little book, but I love this book. But it's coming out in Yiddish,
Love it.
which is a mix of different languages, right? So all of a sudden, and they said that my name, there was no J for Joni Klein Higger in Yiddish. So I had to use my Hebrew name. It's going to be Zelda uh, Klein Higger because there's no J in Yiddish. So it's very interesting. But but another thing about this book that I do love, and this is why they asked me to do it, it's tzedakah. Tzedakah means it's giving of yourself to help somebody else, right? So it's
Uh,
based on that concept. And tzedakah, many people think of tzedakah as giving money, charity, which is what it is, but it's also other things. You can give tzedakah just by being kind to someone with your smile, with your time. So I love this book. I'm grateful it's still out there. That's 10 Tzedakah Pennies. And I am doing something in St. Petersburg, Florida. I have another book, which I just dropped on the floor. If you didn't hear that big thump, hold on. dropped everything that was on my desk, but this is Barnyard Bubby's Hanukkah, and this was a very exciting, this one is out there, so is 10 Stuck a Pennies, they're available, you know, all over on the internet and blah, 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 Amazon, Barnes and Noble, but Barnyard Bubby's Hanukkah, this was an interesting experience. So I co-wrote this book I actually wrote the book for a contest, which I don't know if you're familiar with Susanna Leonard Hill, but
Yes.
she has these wonderful contests. If you are a picture book author, they're wonderful. Same thing, Vivian Kirkfield just
Yes.
inspired
Yes.
with her 50-word contest. There are great contests out there that are inspiration for
Right.
writing books. So this is a book I never would have written, right? Barnyard Bubby's Hanukkah, but it had to be we had to write a manuscript based on the 12 days of Christmas.
Okay.
So I contacted my friend Barbara. I'm like, Barbara, does this sound good? And she says, well, what if you, and then I'm like, you know what, Barbara, just write the book. Let's do this together. And we write different things together. And we have so much fun writing together. We had a blast writing this book. And not only did we sell the book, it won a place in the contest. We won an award in that contest, but it won a Creative Child Magazine Book Award. It was written up in the Washington Post as a top 10 holiday book pick. It was on Amazon #1. It was just this book. And the best part is, Barbara and I got to travel around the country in Canada. We performed. I was Barnyard Bubby. She was Barnyard Bubby, and I was Miss JONI the farmhand. So I played the piano. We both would sing together in harmony. We did a whole Hanukkah story for Barnyard Bubby's Hanukkah. We still do. We still go out and perform with Barnyard Bubby, but unfortunately, it's only one time a year. Hanukkah only comes one time a year. But yeah, we've had a wonderful, we performed at the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston. We performed at different museums and different, I mean, it was an amazing experience. They sent us around the country through the Jewish Book Council. It was amazing.
Awesome.
So that was an amazing experience, but Barnyard Bubby is still going strong. It's still out there. And I am constantly writing. My agent will tell you I drive her crazy. I have so many different manuscripts because I belong to different critique groups. So you have to have something ready for your critique group. So one of them meets twice a month. So I wind up writing more than I ever thought I would write, you know? And I'm like, Joyce, I have another one. I have another one, driving her crazy. But anyway, but still, I love what I do. And I did just get a very wonderful offer. I'm going to be published by Candlewick. I'm so excited.
Yay!
Candlewick Press.
I
And
love
bagels
Candlewick.
on the table. I'm so excited. I am
Yeah.
so excited. I'm going to be working with Miriam Newman, who seems absolutely lovely from all of my correspondence with her. I've heard wonderful things about her. Unfortunately, the book won't be out. It's called Bagels on the Table. It won't be out until 2027 because we got an incredible illustrator and we have to wait. So that's okay, though. I'm willing to wait. It's worth it to wait for a great illustrator because, you know, an illustrator is a huge part of your book.
Huge part.
It's
Yes.
so important. It could make or break your book and add so much. An
Yeah.
illustrator is an amazing person. So
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah, so and what else can I tell you? I'm still writing a lot of songs. I just re-released, I'm very excited about this. I re-released my music, a lot of my songs. I changed distribution companies and I've re-released things. So the song you heard, Friendship and Buckle Up Your Seatbelts, it's on We Can Make the World Go Round, which is a music CD. It's a CD, but it's also available, you know, on
Digitally,
internet.
right.
Yes, thank
Yeah.
goodness, Spotify and all those, whatever. And I also have a lot of Jewish songs. I do a lot of Jewish books and songs because I was a religious musical school teacher.
Yeah.
And, you know, and so within that community, I have a lot of, I do a lot of performances, but I also do performances with Rainbow of Friendship still because I feel that's such an important book.
Yeah.
And I also have a book, I Have a Voice, that I co-wrote with Flora Greenberg. By the way, I never mentioned my illustrators, which shame on me, because again, I said they're so important. Eileen Goldenberg, she illustrated many of my books, including Rainbow of Friendship, I Have a Voice. She illustrated the cover for my middle grade novel, which is Kobe Ryan Harris is Officially Fat. Yeah, it won a Children's Literary Classic Award. That's Kobe Ryan Harris is Officially Fat. That was Eileen Goldenberg. For Barnyard Bubby's Hanukkah, my illustrator is Monica Gutierrez. And for 10 Stuck a Pennies, it's Tova Leff. So I've been very fortunate with wonderful illustrators.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Fabulous. So much of a body of work available. And I'll be linking all of that up. And speaking of Bubby's Barnyard Hanukkah, Joni has generously offered to give one copy of that Hanukkah book away as the prize for this week. So if you're watching this on YouTube, please make sure you go over to the blog, because for one thing, there's so much more over there. I'm going to link up teaching tips for classroom teachers, preschool daycare families. Also for music teachers, there's going to be writing prompts. Joni's going to share some author tips over there. So there's going to be so much more. All her links are going to be there on the blog. So that link will be in the description of the video. So if you're watching on YouTube, go over there. If you get there, I'm trying to think when this will air. If you get there within the time frame, that it'll tell you in the description. If you get there in that time frame, you can leave a comment on the blog and you'll be eligible to win that copy of Bubby's Barnyard Hanukkah. So
Barnyard Bubby's
Barnyard
Hanukkah.
Bubby
It's a little
Hanukkah.
tricky. It's a little tricky.
Sorry, yeah, that alliteration gets you. Barnyard Bubby's Hanukkah. Such fun books, songs, plays. All those links will be below. So be sure to check all of that out. Such an incredible body of work. Joni, it has been a pleasure talking with you today. So much fun.
Thank you so much, Tanya. You're just wonderful. I love talking with you as well. It's a pleasure. It's really a pleasure. Thank you for having me, and thank you, everybody.
Always fun talking about picture books and jams, and we have enjoyed jamming with you today, and we hope you will join us next time for PB Jams. See ya.
Bye. Thank you.